Hey guys, I doubt anybody is going to watch this for a long while. I probably won't get popular for a while, so I'm really just putting this video out here for the sake of it. I talk about a lot of my other characters, but I generally neglect Kaffee, the, literal poster character of my entire channel. So I decided to dedicate this entire video to their lore. It will be a pretty short video because Kaffee doesn't have too much going on for him as for tragic events are concerned. So I'm gonna try to wrap this up as quickly as possible. So let's start off with some pretty basic questions that you'd probably ask a real person and not a weird mystical creature. What is his age? Kaffee's age isn't really confirmed. I'm not trying to confirm it either because I'm not really sure what a solid age for him would be. All I can say is he's probably a lot older than you. So, yeah. So, what is their gender? Kaffee isn't really a guy at all. It isn't a person, it's a creature that tries to act like a person. Kaffee is not a real dragonoid, rather, he is made out of magic as he could not be made by natural causes. As a result, he was made completely and utterly out of magic, resulting in his insane durability. Kaffee cannot be killed by regular means because of this, but that wasn't really the question. We're supposed to be talking about his gender. Kaffee's gender kind of changes whenever he wants it to, which means he can be a guy, a girl, whatever. So why do I specifically state not to make Kaffee a girl? Well, he just doesn't really use his female body much, simply because, well, he just doesn't want to. Why would he be a female when he can be a male with a much deeper voice that can actually be taken seriously, since female dragonoids have very high pitched, squeaky voices compared to the males and even humans? However, if you're looking for a in general, Kaffee would go by he, him, and they, them. Most likely they, them, as well. He, him isn't too accurate considering his physical form is not that resembling of a male. So, what about their general feats? As in, what have they accomplished? And what are their anti feats? Which is things that can be taken to try to say they aren't as strong as you think they are. So, Kaffee is capable of flight, although people say it's more akin to levitation since he very rarely actually goes any higher than 10 feet in the air. And while some people would say this is because he can't, it's because he simply doesn't want to. Kaffee can fly as high as he wants as long as he has some form of, well, will to live. Because the truth is, Kaffee's own willpower is the only thing keeping him alive, because he technically isn't even supposed to exist according to his universe's rules. Another weird thing he can do is bend people and things around him to his imagination and will. While this might seem overpowered, you have to realize that he usually sees things as they look to other people and doesn't really use his imagination as much as he could. And you are really lucky he doesn't, because if he has a grudge with you, you're probably going to get torn to pieces and then wonder why you woke up somehow in the morning alive and well. Okay, this guy's too strong, so what are his anti-feats? Well, he's ticklish. Yeah. His biggest weakness is that he's ticklish, and the most you'll do with this is stall him for long enough to try to run. And really, running isn't enough because he flies at about the same pace that most people drive on the road. Can he go faster? Technically, but remember, he's pretty lazy compared to other species, other specimens of his kind. So, will he give chase though? Yeah, he will run after you. He will, on his very long legs, chase you. Remember, Kaffee can influence his height, and on average, he is 10 feet tall, which means you're fighting a 10-foot tall beast that wants to kill you. Although he realistically would be way too pure to actually want to try to kill you. If he was to actually want to kill you, there'd be nothing stopping him from doing so, as the only limit to his power is what he can imagine doing to you. So basically, imagine getting torn to pieces by a saw while you're still alive and you can't die because he doesn't want you to. Yeah, he can do that, but generally he won't because he isn't bloodlusted, which limits his power by a lot. Theoretically, he could be like a multiversal threat, but he chooses not to be because he's just too kind. Okay, so we can't really kill the guy. We can't really run from the guy. Can we restrain the guy? Well, only if he wants to. And, well, he sometimes is playful enough to allow people to tie him down. It is highly unlikely. And the second he feels like you're trying to do something, he will break out faster than you can say hallelujah. So, what can you do? Just really not much. Just don't get on his nerves, which you probably won't even do in the first place, considering this guy is cooler than an ice cube. He is really limited by his imagination, and his imagination is limited by his kindness. So, as long as you're not going against a bloodlusted Kaffee on mushrooms, you're fine. And I know there's an anti feat you guys are probably thinking, is he an alcoholic? No, he is not an alcoholic. You can't give him a bottle of beer and be fine. In fact, he'll probably just cringe at you. First off, he's not an alcoholic. Second off, he doesn't like alcohol. Third off, he doesn't get drunk, which means even if you pumped him full of enough alcohol to fill up 3 submarines, you still would not have enough alcohol to make the guy drunk. So, what about his personality? Which is probably what you're asking right now, just so you can at least hope that there's some hope left for you. Well, luckily, Kaffee is a very chilled guy and won't really attack humans under most circumstances because, well, he doesn't view them as much of a threat and he also just doesn't like the idea of fighting, as from his perspective, he went through the Great Dragon War, which is a fictional war where hunters and dragonoids fought each other for hundreds or possibly even thousands of years trying to keep each other from harming the other. And every time someone died, 10 more on the other team would fall. And for each person that would fall, more people would die. Okay, I got a little off track there, and by a little I mean a lot. So let's get back to Kaffee. Kaffee himself went through this war, and he did not like it because everywhere he went, in his own words, there was no joy only blood. Why? Because everyone was covered in the blood of someone else. And if they weren't, it was them laying in a puddle of their own, motionless. Those are his own words, by the way.
Wait, I just said that.
God, oh my gosh, my grammar sucks. Kaffee doesn't really fear humans, though. Rather, he fears what they can do to each other. Kaffee sees humans as interesting and doesn't want them to die, but he knows that they're more likely to kill them than dragonoids are to cause their own extinction. Kaffee has said this himself in his lore multiple times, mostly to the eyeless one, a dragonoid who is very, very old and has no eyes whatsoever. That's literally why they call him the eyeless one. Like if you look at his eye sockets, they are completely empty. Why did this all happen? Because humans could not push aside their own fears and ego long enough to realize that no one in the situation meant harm to the other in any way at all. Dragonoids mostly fought because if they didn't, then they would die out due to humans. Because humans were genuinely hunting dragonoids and trying to domesticate them, as they did basically everything else. During the war, Kaffee was highly energetic and, well, pretty aggressive. Not in a traditional sense, just in a I will punch you in the arm for no reason, just because testosterone. Although Kaffee does not have actual testosterone because he has no human hormones. Kaffee himself is pretty lax now because he went through a entire war being basically the only one besides the eyeless one and a few other ones to consistently stay alive throughout the entire war without being killed or severely and permanently injured. And now for the question that basically any gooner has been asking themselves if there are even Kaffee gooners. So, how breedable is Kaffee? Well, to that, I'd say, what the heck are you thinking? Okay, that's how I would respond, but how would Kaffee respond? Well, he'd laugh. Like, really loud. And then after he stopped, he'd stare into your eyes with those glowing, freaking eyes. The ones that can blind you in 5 seconds if you aren't careful. So, what would he do? How would he react if you straight up just told him, hey, let's do it? He would cringe a little. Although I wouldn't say a lot because he is indeed somewhat a animal, even if he is a very intelligent and powerful animal. So how would he react? Well, he'd tell you straight up, we are not compatible. Dragonoids and humans are not compatible to have kids, or rather, they are, just your baby will be coming out looking like a freaking reptile. And I doubt you want that. But, would he actually consent, though? Probably not. Because the truth about Kaffee is he isn't really concerned about that stuff. He's more concerned about all the different ways he can make fireworks out of thin air than he is with breeding with you, a regular human who is probably pretty chonky. Sorry, homeboy Kaffee, there's no outro today for you either. Bye.